for years and years and years, people just thought truck driving was driving a truck. Well, normally it is, not in Vietnam.
The gun trucks got started when we started getting ambushed around September of 1967.
The transportation companies became rolling combat units because they ran through the hot zone, combat zone every day, and a lot of night convoys. Basically, the convoys were just defenseless.
And naturally, the losses due to contact with the enemy forces was heavy.
The higher-ups said, we got to do something to harden our convoy, and they called it the hardening.
The concept of a gun truck came about in the mid-60s and was really perfected about 69, 70, and 71.
The first gun truck that we had, we actually started building it in August of 67 and put it together called the War Wagon. And it was on a deuce-and-a-half frame, and all it had was some steel plating and 2 M60 machine guns and an M79 grenade launcher and our personal weapons.
First of all, you have to recognize that in Vietnam, the roads were terrible. QL-19, the road we ran a lot on because of all the IEDs that were planted to try to slow down the convoys and destroy them, there were so many potholes. And so they put all this armor on a 2.5 ton. The 2.5 ton running down that road absolutely could not sustain that over any period of time. So they were having lots and lots of mechanical issues. So they said, let's put them on a 5 ton. So then they went to the 5 ton.
Over the period of time, they built them up and found out that the armor plating was too heavy for the deuce-and-a-half and converted most of them to 5 tons. There were still a few left in 1972, but most of them have been converted to 5 tons.
Interestingly enough, I mean, we call it TO&E, this Table of Organizational Allowance. There wasn't a gun truck in Vietnam that was authorized by the Army, but all the brass knew we had them.
We weren't issued gun trucks. They were fabricated in the field from cargo trucks with whatever means you could get your hands on.
We got the materials to build them from all different sources. We called it midnight requisitioning or swapping and trading or whatever, just however we could get the stuff.
For example, the minigun on the back of Brutus, Prescott, we went over to the NCO club at the air base and the crew was there, and Prescott was still in charge of the crew at that time, and he said, well, I'll be right back. And we go into the NCO club thinking this is a good thing, we'll have a few drinks and unwind. He's gone, and he comes back into the NCO club and he goes, let's go. And we're all looking at him, we're like, well, what's the hurry? Let's just no, let's go. I mean, his sense of urgency in his voice. So we get back over to the 124th at 359th, and he goes, well, I had to hurry up because I went to the base there, and I went to one of the Hueys, and I took the minigun barrels, and I didn't want to get caught. It's like, okay. So that's how those second set of barrels came into existence. A lot of the armor and stuff like that was all scrounged up from different places. Somebody would say, what do you need? And the next thing you know, it would appear, but it was all scrounged.
You might go to a shipyard to load a cargo, whatever, and you scrounge anything you get your hands on. Weapons, most of our 50s came from what the Air Force kicked aside. We kept every piece that we possibly could, because you never knew when you was going to need it, because it wasn't a military issued item.
The reason that the trucks were so different was because the people who were on them were different. And they had a difference of opinion about what was cool and what was functional and what they just wanted.
The names of the gun trucks were pretty unique. Of course, Everyone watches movies, so a lot of the names came from movies. They also came from, you know, people's thoughts and so on and so forth. A lot of them came from music. Our particular gun trucks in 359 were, one of them was named for, the Untouchable was named by Fred Freeman, Eric Freeman, because of the many ambushes that he had been in, and no one on his truck had been killed during the period of time that he was NCO. So that truck was built from another truck, the Ball of Confusion, and it was renamed the Untouchable because they were actually untouchable in battle.
Young gentleman, the first driver of Brutus from Holland, Michigan, his name's Jim Bird. He says, as a kid, I always liked to watch the Popeye cartoons, and that was the biggest, baddest dude on TV at the time. So that was the name, and there wasn't any question about it. So
the name came Misfits because everybody considered everybody on the truck as a misfit.
Proud of your truck. Every crew was proud of your truck. You had the best gun truck. And you kid to this day, no, their truck's okay, but we got a better truck than that. It was good. It was good. And you loved those guys like brothers. Yeah. It was a very close, close camaraderie. Yeah.
They're just a great bunch of people, and most of them love to have fun, and they could party, drink beer, do whatever with the best of them. But in the morning when it was time to go to work, you went to work and you did what you were supposed to do and you took care of business. And you could count on every one of them to do the same.
Your life was on the line, them guys kept you alive. And because of the danger involved in it, when you was driving the cargo truck, you got hit, you just run and got out of there as fast as you could. You was on a gun truck, you had to go back and fight them off to get everybody out of there. And it took some brave people to do that, and I served with a lot of brave men.
We lost a lot of people. We lost a lot of trucks. But it would have been total devastation without the gun trucks and the cooperation of the drivers and the job that they did, trying to get through the hot zones and all of that, and the sacrifice a lot of people made in the process of getting that cargo through.
Gun trucks were an invention. We are a part of history.
We didn't have an SOP on how the gun trucks ran. We learned from experience what we did, and
I think we did the best we could with what we had to work with.
It was hard, it was dusty. During monsoon season, it was wet, it was cold, but we did it endlessly, day in and day out, for the protection of our friends in arms and our convoy, and to achieve the objective of our mission, which was to get food, supplies, fuel from point A to point B for all of the outposts that we serviced in the Central Highlands of Vietnam.
The transportation units, I think, played a vital role in Vietnam. If we hadn't have done our job, the troops in the field wouldn't have had food, they wouldn't have had bullets, they wouldn't have had fuel for the helicopters. So we were that link, and I'm proud of what we did.